Hello there. Here we are again. Tonight I'd like to show you how to displace a model inside Zbrush. Basically how you can take a simple shape and with a low texture, low size, you can come up with a very dynamic model afterwards. Something that you really would take forever to achieve with Z Modeler. Uh, but you can create this box and sphere in no time. And I just used basically two different depth maps, one for the sphere, one for the box, and then reapplied the actual texture on top of it. So basically, with just two textures, I created this very unique and techie sci-fi type look here. I did use the actual displacement panel inside ZBrush. Someone did show me today that there is another way to do it because there is a limitation to displacing actual geometry inside ZBrush, and I will go over that real quick, and we will explore the new method, and we will go from there. So today we're going to work just on the box, okay? But the same method can be applied to another sphere, any shape you want, any simple shape. And you can go to ZBrush forum, and I'll provide the link for you, and you could download any one of these textures. I think I got about 6 sets in here. You've got the actual texture itself, then you've got the depth map below it, and that's what's going to generate our displacement. So same thing here, depth map below it. So I got a handful there. I'm not going to bother downloading it, I already have it. So let's head on over to ZBrush and let's see what we can create. So for now, we're going to create our simple box, and I'll show you how to do that with ZModeler, how I created that. So you pick on your Polymesh 3D, drag it onto the canvas, hit T for edit, go down to initialize real fast, and we're going to set up the resolution for it. So we're going to do 4, 4, and 4, okay? And now click the Q cube. It's a tough one to say. Click that real fast. Now we got our cube in the center. Turn your polyfill on. We're going to change this over to basic material. Get rid of that red wax for now. And quickly, we are going to generate that outer perimeter. Took me a minute to figure this out, but I finally got it. We're going to open up the modeler. If you just do Z, B, M. Yep, it didn't work as well as I thought it would. Alright, B, Z, M. There we go. Now we're on the Z modeler. And real quickly, hold down your Alt key, create a temporary subgroup, or a polygroup, click and drag all the way through. Now we have a nice little clean hole in there. Now, one thing to note, you'll notice that there is no edge loops on the inside. Just one from the top down, but none going around the perimeter of the box. Well, QMesh is not going to work correctly. So what we need to do real fast, right-click for your edge actions on an edge, and we're going to do insert still, but instead of a single, go to multiple, click specified resolution, type in 3, enter, and now all we got to do is click on that one, boom. Now we got 3, it's kind of hard to see, but we got 3 edge loops in there, nice and neat. Now the QMesh is going to work properly. And to speed this up a little bit, I'm going to turn on symmetry. You can also hit the X key, and that will activate it. We're going to do, click it over to Y, turn off X, radial, and we're going to do 4. This way we're working on all 4 sides at the same time, as you can see. And another temporary polygroup. Now QMesh in until it disappears, let go. And there you go. Now we got our basic shape. But I want to thin this out just a little bit here. And just go to inflate and go in the negative value. And we're going to drag them in like that. So now with Z modeler real quick. I want to insert new edge loops in between the support structure. I'm not worried about the corner, it's just the support structure here. So go to specified resolution, kick it down to 1, so it doesn't really matter where on there I click, it'll put it dead center. Okay. And same thing on the upper supports. And just got to do him one more time. There we go. Zoom out. Alright. Now we got our kind of odd shaped box. Okay. And this is what I started with. This simple little model. It took us, what, a minute to make? So now, let me show you basically how the old method works here. We would pull up our texture. First we want to make a UV. Crank him up to 4096. Drop your map border down. Create. And we're going to do UV Planner. Planner is usually pretty good for flat surfaces, but I found with some box models or spheres and stuff like that, it makes some very interesting effects on there. So now we have our UV. Let's load up a texture. Alright, let me find one that I want to play with. Alright, this is one of the ones that you can find on Zbrush Central. And click on him. We just want the texture. You know, it's low poly right now. I'm just trying to see what kind of interesting shapes will come out of this. Now, change your H repeat. We're going to do 2. And I might just leave it at that, because I like those that formation right there. I like that. Hit X, turn off your symmetry. We don't need that anymore. So now we frame him out, and let me load up the map that we'll use to displace it. It'll bring it back to the same folder. Now we want to get the depth. And you can crank up the intensity. You'll see that it's creating kind of a bump type map. If you actually click mode, it gets really wonky. And that's due to the fact that it's such a low poly. I'm actually going to drop him down to like 0.03. And we may do 0.05. We'll see. And what you want to do is divide your model up. And then you can start seeing more shapes and stuff like that. More defined shapes. We're up to 3.5 million right now. I'm actually going to drop him back down to 0.02. Now, you'll notice that your system has gotten really sluggish. Okay? I can't do anything right now. Now you can see it updated. Every time I click and turn, it goes back. It takes off the displacement real quick. I drop it, and you'll see it displace back out and in at the same time. And I'll show you why it's doing that here in a second. So I'm going to crank up his divide one more time. We're now at 14.15 million polygons. Okay, now it's super slow. Okay, well, it's trying to generate that displacement. Okay, so should be pretty simple just to click apply displacement, right? Well, let's click it. Give it a second, and you will see the results. Okay, something's wrong here. If you notice, it didn't displace correctly. And the reason for that is in ZBrush, it'll do a preview displacement at whatever H repeat that you do, H and V repeat you do, but it will never truly displace that geometry at that configuration. It'll always do 1 and 1. That's great, but if you want to get that detail like right there, it's not going to happen. You have to do it a different way. And so I'm going to Control Z. I'm going to remove the displacement. Give it a second to update here. Once the displacement comes on, we should have access again. Yep, it's back on. Now it's back to prior to us applying that. Okay, we need to turn that off. We're going to turn displacement all the way off. And we're still having issues. It's very sluggish. You know, I shouldn't be that sluggish. Even with 14 million polys, I shouldn't be that sluggish. Let me go to my transform palette. When you start messing with mode on displacement, it turns this little button off here. Quick 3D edit. Click him back on. And boom. Now you've got everything working. Okay, well you're asking, well how do I get that tiled effect? That's what I want. That's what's going to look good. Well, here's how we're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to make sure the displacement is off all the way. Go to your texture map. Turn him off. Go ahead and texture off for now so we don't get any extra information in here. And then we're going to go to the actual texture panel and import that depth map again. Click on your depth and actually click AA so we get rid of all the jaggy lines. And then go over to your polypaint, which is right above your UV map. Open him up. Now do polypaint from texture. Okay, it says MRGB is turned off. Please adjust. Well, you just go up to your MRGB up here, click him on. Now polypaint from texture. Great. It just applied the depth map at the correct UV settings for us. Okay, so now go down to your mask. And mask by color is what you want. Now mask by intensity. There you go. Now we can displace it using deformation. So just click on there. We're going to type in 10 for now. And then enter. Give it a second. Boom. It has now displaced it correctly at the correct UV tiles that we had originally set. Awesome. That's great. That's what we want. I'm going to Control Z real fast, and I'm going to give it a 15 inflate instead. The only reason I don't add like another 5 to it, because I think the mask gets a little jagged and stuff like that if you try to do it again. So it's better just to Control Z and then put in the proper input. Now, the one thing about this model that you notice, it didn't displace the same way the preview did earlier. Well, with displacements, the thing about them is they go in and out. Okay? So, just depending on the gray level, it will either push it in or it's going to push it out. The method we're doing right now is just pushing out. So it helps if you have like a real thin model, you'll get pretty much the same effect. Okay? So, but I mean, it's still a really neat model that we made just with one, or basically 2 textures. Okay? And it's still holding on to those UV coordinates. So basically, let me take the mask off real quick. Okay. And real quick, I'm going to just fill the object with white. Make sure your brush texture is turned off. Fill him white. Now you can see all the nuances of him. Now, we can actually go back to our texture map in our geometry palette. And you can actually load up your texture again. We'll just re-import him back in, make sure we're getting the right one. And boom. And now you got this nice looking little model here. You can clean them up a little bit. You could do, what is it, polish by feature. You can even do a clay polish. You could do a lot of things, you know, to clean it up a little bit. but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm not going to go through all that. But what I am going to show you real fast, let me zoom out here. Let me open up our plugin, which is actually up here. I've got him over here. And we are going to open up Decimation Master. When you open this up, make sure you click Keep UVs, because we want those UVs. Okay? Now, pre-process current. This will take probably a few minutes for you. It does for me. It all depends on your CPU and RAM. So I'm going to pause this, and then we'll come back when we're ready, okay? Okay, we're back. Alright, it's done all its processing there. It took several minutes to get it done. But now let's use the magic of Decimation Master. Alrighty, so if you're not familiar with it, basically Decimation Master will take those millions of polygons and knock it down to where it's reasonable, so any application can handle it. Only if you want a static model, because you don't really want anything that you need to deform, because it uses a lot of triangles and doesn't deform very well. But the default will go to 20% of decimation. So basically it'll make it 20% of 14.15 million polys, or points. And we'll just hit decimate current. Takes a few seconds there. It's relatively fast because it's already done all the pre-processing. It's a little slow right now because of capturing at the same time. And as you can see, we don't see anything different, do we? Nothing at all. Let me polyframe that. Still super dense. Yeah, you can see all the little triangles it just created. Well, let's go crazy here. Let's do 5%. It's going to make it to about 1.4 million polygons. And decimate current. And we should see a difference here in just a second. Bam. Look at that. And it's, yeah. It's now at 707,000 active points. Zoom out. Take that polyfill off. Really, I'm still not seeing any difference. I've gone crazy. I've gone all the way down to 1.5%. But for today, we're going to do 1%. And it's going to do about 283,000 polys. That's what it's projected to do. And decimate current. Bam. Look at that. Look at that. It's not until you get up this close that you start seeing the faceting, sorry. But I don't think you're ever going to be that super close to your model. You know, if you are, obviously, you want to bring it up. And that is 1% of decimation. That is crazy. I mean, that's only going to be ZTL-wise with your texture on it. It's probably only going to be maybe about 15 megabytes. It's going to be itty bitty. So any other program like Maya and Keyshot and all them, they're going to handle it beautifully. Even though Keyshot can do millions upon millions, but you know, if you got a big old scene, you want to decimate these things down. And the cool thing is, because we hit UVs, keep the UVs on, you can still apply your texture map to it, and it'll still go right to the right place. It still remembers the tiling, everything. It's very cool setup there. Something that was super simple a few minutes ago is now this complex organic tech type thing, you know, and it's just really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and definitely show off some of your results on my Zbrush thread, or contact me. Either way, let me know. Really like to see if this has been useful for you. Thanks, guys. You have a great day.